name is Mark. We're now from matters to do with finance bill. We escalate it and talk about data protection and system security, where today, within this age, data is king. And organizations and individuals as well as government are finding it important to ensure that data protection is upheld and also the system security of the same is maintained. To talk about this issue, I'm joined by Christopher Khaere, who is a certified cybersecurity professional and also the coordinator of Kenya Cybersecurity and Forensics Association. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now, you know, data protection and system security are two different issues, but they do converge at some point. So I want us to go step by step so that the viewer can really understand what it entails, matters to do with data protection and system security. So to start off, maybe we start with data protection. When you talk about data protection, what are we focusing on?
Thank you for that. When you talk about data protection, let's see the origin of this data. Before even moving into the origin of this data, let's talk briefly about cybersecurity so that we can see how it is relating with the data protection.
Yes.
Cybersecurity is all about protecting digital systems, data and information from external attacks or threats. Now, data is so sensitive that if a hacker gains access to a particular data, he or she can go ahead and perform other malicious activities. So now, out of this, there's a need for us now to protect this data, and we have different type of data. We have sensitive data, we have personal data, we have confidential data. Now, in Kenya, in 2018, there was a rollout of Huduma number, as you well know.
Yes.
Then there was a court order to stop the processing of Kenyans' data because there was no law to govern the collection, processing of all these data. So in 2019, the government was forced now to establish an act that can regulate the handling of personal data.
Yes.
And that one brought what we call the Data Protection Act of 2019. Now, this Data Protection Act, what does it entail? It brings in the issue of the Office of Data Protection Commissioner. Yes. It brings in the issues, now gives me as the data subject. If data is mine, then I'm the data subject. So it gives me as the data subject some rights, like rights to reject the processing of my data, right to access my data, among other. Again, this act allows the organization that are handling this user data, you can be either a data controller or so it allows them again to register with the Office of Data Protection Commissioner. Yeah. So basically, when you talk about data protection, we must protect our data to prevent hackers from accessing this data so that we can now stop or prevent any other malicious activities that can be done when this data is in the hands of the hackers.
It's still on matters to do with data. There's also the aspect of data privacy. What is it? Is it so much different from data protection, or what is entailed within it?
Now, data privacy and data protection are almost same, but we have just a slight difference. But before we understand this, let's talk about different type of data and information. We have private data. These are data that is owned by an individual, like me. My PIN is my personal data. My passwords are my personal data. My ID number, among other, are my personal data. Then we have confidential data. Confidential data is a data or information that is owned by a group of people. It could be 2 people, it could be an organization, or it could be a student at a school, or it could be a church and church members. So such information and data is what we call confidential. Then we have sensitive data. Now, sensitive data is that data that if it lands to the hands of that party, for this case, it causes serious problems to one party involved in this data. Like, for instance, I'm using WhatsApp, I chat with my friends. The chats that I have with that friend X that I'm chatting with, that information, that data is confidential. But in case it lands to the hands of another person, maybe we say, I have this as my wife, then I'm chatting with another lady. And now my wife realized that Chris is chatting with this other lady. You see, it will bring some problems. So that is now example of what? Sensitive data. That crucial data that if it lands to the hands of other people, it causes serious problems. Now, back to your question, data privacy and data
And data protection.
And data protection. Now, data protection is an act that now controls or regulates the handling of personal data. While data privacy is now all about the security measures that we put in place to ensure that this personal data is secured.
So it's all about data privacy is all about access.
Is all about access, allowing access to only those people who are authorized to do so. Yeah.
Indeed. Are there... Why is data privacy important, especially now? Because I'm asking this because there is an aspect where I was talking to one of my colleagues, and one of the things that we are talking about is you enter into buildings within Nairobi. Sometimes you are asked for your ID, your phone number, your ID number. So the question was who is responsible in guarding this information? Because in the first place, you have given your ID number. You have written it down, your full names and everything.
Now, under Section 25 of the Data Protection Act, we have the principles of data processing. As an organization or as a data controller or as a data processor, there are some principles that I must be able to abide by.
Yes.
And one of them is basically to ensure that this information that I'm collecting from the user is what I need for my processing. Maybe, for instance, let me give you a scenario. One time I was going to look for a house.
Yes.
Then I was given some form to fill, and the landlord was even demanding my KRA PIN, my by then NHIF number. Then I was asking him, why this information? Is it really relevant to our agreement? Yes. I just came to your house to stay. Not then I'm wondering, why are you asking me about my KRA PIN? Why are you asking me about my NHIF number? So I declined to give him that information because it's my right as a subject, as a data subject. Now, to ensure that there is security of this, it's now the organization collecting this information to ensure that the information they are collecting from the users is secured. And that's why we have the Office of Data Protection Commissioner that now regulates and handles complaints of the users. Like you realize that your data in a particular organization has been misused. You as the data subject, you can go ahead and launch a complaint about your data being mishandled in a particular organization.
You've mentioned something to do with principles of data processing. Meaning, are there principles that govern data protection?
Yes, we have principles. Like one of them is the processing of this data that I'm collecting from the user. I should do it in a lawful way, fairly and transparently, meaning that this information that I'm collecting from this user, the user is able to understand that I gave out this information because this and this is going to happen to my information. There's no way you'll tell me that you need my phone number for marketing purposes, and again, you go ahead and share my phone number with another party. That one is not transparent. So the information that you collect to me, first it should be limited. A limitation, also another principle, to what you need to do. Then as you do that, let there be transparency. I know that this information that is being collected from me is what is needed and it's going to do this and this. And again, you collect for specified reason. You don't have to collect information, then this information, anything that you want. So you use this data, maybe it's a phone number or a contact address, you use it. Then this information that you're collecting from me, it will be accurate and up to date. And as the subject owner, as the data subject, I can approach you and correct. I can approach you and demand my information to be deleted from your systems.
There's also the aspect of data life cycle management and also information life cycle management. Maybe you can touch on those.
Now, within these principles, we have one that now you have my information. Maybe I'm doing a business with you, or you hired me on a particular contract. Maybe you say for 3 years. After 3 years, there is that allowance that you have to stay with my information, maybe for reviews or what and what. After now that period has elapsed, you are supposed to archive my information. After archiving my information, it will stay in your systems for some times, then you delete. So you cannot just stay with my information for the next 20 years, and yet our contract was like 2 years or 3 years. Yeah.
All right. Now let's come to system security now, because we've handled the data protection and the data privacy. Now expound on system security.
Now, when you talk about system security, you are basically focusing on 3 things. To ensure there is confidentiality of data and information and systems, to ensure there is integrity. Integrity is the originality of information, data and system, and it's free from alteration, then to ensure that there is aspect of availability. So system security is all about the best practices that we do as an organization to ensure that there is confidentiality, integrity and availability of systems, data and information.
So how do they marry between data protection and system security? Where is the nexus?
You see, one of the principles now in system security or cyber security is the aspect of confidentiality. We're ensuring that this information is accessible to only those people who are allowed to. And this information is also data. So that is where they
marry.
And again, this data must be in original format, so it should not be altered anyhowly. So there is the second aspect of integrity in system security, ensuring that there is confidentiality, integrity, and lastly, this data must be available to these people when they need it. So the aspect of availability coming in. So the 3 principles of system security or cyber security are coming in the aspect of data protection.
One of the proposals in the finance bill is about KRA accessing financial information of Kenyans. How do you see it? Is this going to be problem, especially to people when it comes to their private information?
It depends with how KRA will be using this information. They can be given that privilege, but they misuse that privilege. So again, it depends with how they'll be using the usage of this information.
There's also when it comes to data and system security, of course, what are the most common threats? Because we're talking about information that is very important to businesses, to organizations, and even governments, and by extension, individuals. So what would you say are the most common threats to data and system securities?
The most common one is the aspect of social engineering techniques, where a hacker uses some manipulative tactics to convince a user into revealing some sensitive information without knowing that this guy, that he or she is revealing this information. And one common form of social engineering techniques is the aspect of phishing, where we get the phishing links. Someone is sending you a link telling you that there is a promotion, there is in Noah Africa, this and this, there is a free scholarship here. So you open the link, you are told to enter your personal details, your name, your ID number, all those information, the date of birth. Then upon now giving out this information, ideally, our passwords revolve around our life. I'm even sure some of your passwords, like maybe I'm Chris or something that I can remember, Chris Hayere. I mean Chris at 2025 as my password. So in system security, there are tools that we can use to generate millions of passwords about the target. What I need, I simply need your personal information. Like I want to know more about you. I want to know where you come from. I want to know your full name. I want to know your ID number, your phone number. Then I feed this information in this tool. Then the tool will be able to generate a word list. A word list is a list of the possible combination of passwords about the target. So I go ahead and now use other tools to go and take over your accounts if I want to. So phishing is one of the common ways. And besides now taking over your accounts, successful phishing attack can result to other things like fraud. I just take over your account, then I start scanning. Scamming your friends. I tell them nisaidia na so ile.
That has been very rampant, especially on social media platforms.
Yeah. Nisaidia na punch ile namba ingine iko na fuliza tuma kwa hii. You see things like that. Yeah. So we have phishing, but in organization setup we have now other attacks like SQL injection, where the system is vulnerable to some SQL injection, and as a hacker I'm able to play around with some few codes, then I gain access to the entire database. So with this I have data, I have information, I can do anything that I want to.
There's also the aspect of insider threats. How does that play out?
Now this is all about someone within our company or our organization, someone whom we have trusted enough, and he or she has access to our systems, but he performs other malicious activities. Like you are a worker in a company X. You have access to personal data, customers, over millions of data. But now another company approaches you and tells you, hey, sell us this, we have this deal for you. Then this guy, he'll compromise with the search, then he has access to the data and can sell out. That is the inside threats. The best way to handle this is to use the trust but verify model. Is a cyber security best practices where I trust you, but can I verify this trust before I grant you any access to our systems?
Doesn't that now underscore the fact that the human factor is the weakest link in matters to do with system security and data protection?
Yes, it is. And in fact, 90% of the successful attacks are made possible because of human error. So we share information to the public. We use the weak passwords. We don't care. When we leave our desks, we leave just empty, open computers. We haven't locked our computers. Simply move out. All these contribute to the successful attacks that we encounter. Yeah, and it's very possible again to get information from a victim. Like maybe I want to hack a system in a place that I've never been there, like Moyale. Yeah. There's a school there that I want to take over their accounts. I'll go there. I approach the receptionist. I talk to her. We can exchange contacts. Then upon exchanging contacts, she will save mine. I'll save her number. Yeah. Then I'll be viewing WhatsApp status. What you post tells me who you are. Maybe you're an Arsenal football fan. Yes. I'm not saying so, I don't know.
Victor, my colleague, is a very ardent Arsenal fan.
Okay, maybe you are. Yes. Then you like posting things about Arsenal. As a hacker, I'm learning your behavior pattern, how you operate. In the morning, I know this guy is doing this. Just from what you post. You like posting at a particular time, and there is this specific content that you like posting. So I'll now craft my phishing link based to your interest, what you like doing. Then I send you maybe a link telling about anything to do with Arsenal. I know you will do what, you'll open that link, and that is how I'll get some information from you, and I go ahead and take over. Yeah.
There's also, when it comes to, let's say, even personal emails, nowadays there's that aspect of two-factor authentication. Does it really work?
It does, but before we talk about that, let's go back to understand how authentication normally happens. In any system, there are three things that normally happens. We have authentication, authorization, and accounting. Authentication is all about, are you allowed to access our system? Authorization is all about which areas, specific areas within our system you have access to or permissions to. Accounting is keeping record of everything that you have been doing in our system to keep track of what you have been doing. Now, authentication, two things normally happen. Before I gain access to that system, I must, number one, establish my identity. How do I establish my identity? By providing a username. So my username is chrishayer@gmail.com. That one is my email address. Then, after now providing your identity, you must prove your identity. You prove to the system that you are whom you claim to be. So you enter into a challenge with the server. There are three factors that can be used to prove the identity of any user. The first one is the knowledge factor, the most common one. Knowledge factor is all about what you know. I know my password, I know my PIN. So I can enter, and if it matches with what is in the database, then I have access. Then we have the possession factor, what I have at hand at that particular moment. So like I have my phone, so an OTP can be sent to my phone, then I use this OTP to prove my identity. Then the last one is the genetic factor. I can use my voice to the system. I can scan my biometrics to the system to prove my identity. Two-factor authentication is now using two or more factors of the three factors I mentioned. So when you use two or more, is now what we call the two-factor authentication. So I can be using knowledge factor, then after entering my password, an OTP, one-time password, will be sent to my phone to confirm my identity. That is a possession factor. But now with this OTP, yes, we have two-factor authentication, and also we have multi-factor authentication. But I'm saying that with this OTP, it's not enough security to secure your account, because when this OTP enters your phone, it takes time to expire, like 3 hours, like 8 hours, like 12 hours. etc. These 3 hours, these 8 hours is enough for any hacker to crack that code and gain access to your system. Now, because of that, we have what we call Authenticator app that uses now time technology to auto-renew codes after every 30 seconds. So that is what is in the market, and I really encourage you to download the app. It's free. Then you connect your accounts to the Authenticator app so that we can defeat these hackers.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, there's businesses also gravitate towards protecting the information that they have, whether it's about their clients or their operations. But also there's the aspect of using third-party security systems. What are those, and what are the dangers involved within that sphere?
We don't know these guys very well. We just gave them contracts to implement these in our system. So we really don't know. We are giving out our information, we are giving out our data to invisible world, to these people. We don't know what they are going to do with this. Now, for us now to be protected, or to protect our systems from this invisible world that we don't know, we have to have some what we call zones within our network.
Okay.
Zones where we have a particular zone. This zone is, we call it untrusted zone, where these people can be accessing our systems, but this data is in a particular zone, and this zone we can monitor the activities. We have other systems like the privileged account management that again can be used to see what these guys are doing. We have given them privilege into our system. But by the help of these tools and systems, we're able to monitor that this admin from this organization has done this in our systems. And again, there is an aspect of user training and user awareness. We cannot just assume that that HR, we cannot just assume that that secretary is aware of what is happening in the cybersecurity world. So it's also a good practice to do what? To train these people to create that awareness of the basic things in matters to do with the cybersecurity. Again, we can also perform system audit to see, to identify the level of risk where we are. We identify some vulnerabilities, then we use now these vulnerabilities to get the exact risk level that we are. Then we act accordingly to the level of the risk that we have.
When it comes to trainings, you've mentioned the trainings. How often should these trainings happen to ensure that everything is safe and within the normal parameters?
Now, it depends with the size and the nature of organization, and even the type of the business that this organization is doing. Because training comes with the budget. So we cannot say that we are going to train people maybe after every 2 months, yet our budget does not allow us. So it depends with the budget of the organization, the nature of the organization, and the type of business that this organization is involved. That will now determine how often we are going to do these trainings. But in as much as said, ensure that within that organization there is user training. You cannot just assume that all is well. Yeah.
There's also the aspect of penetration testing. What is it?
We have procured a new system, or we have developed our own system to manage our clients. We are a SACCO. Then before we launch this system, we need a certified cybersecurity practitioner who can help us to test if indeed this system is secured. So this guy will use different tools to try and maneuver around the system to see if he or she is able to access sensitive data, if he is able to log in to access as the admin and perform some alteration to the system. So pen test is all about you get someone who tries to enter into a system simply to help you to identify the gaps within that system. Yeah.
Now, between data protection and system security, does one reign over the other, or they go hand in hand in terms of importance? Now,
the two, data protection and system security, they fall under cyber security as umbrella. So each of these is a branch within cyber security. And for me, I don't see if there is one that outweighs another one. Because talk about data protection. It's something that is really coming up. And one of the things that the Data Protection Act brought is opportunities to young people, opportunities to Kenyans. who can be data protection officers, because now it's a requirement for each and every organization to be registered as the either data controller or data processor. However, there are some exemptions. And within this, it's also advisable that each of these organizations should be able to have a data protection officer. Now, even if we don't have data protection officers, we need to be registered as either data processor or data controller. Who is going to help us? Is a data protection officer. Yes. On the other side, we have system security. We have softwares being developed each and every single day. We have the usage of AI. We are now integrating AI into our systems. But before we integrate this AI into our systems, are we aware of the vulnerabilities that this AI will bring? Are we aware of the vulnerabilities that this new system that we're bringing on board will bring? So again, we need a system security analyst who is able to help us to identify such gaps.
So the emergence or the inclusion of AI is not coming to really do away with the human factor when it comes to data protection and system security?
It's coming to empower data protection officers. It's coming to empower system security engineers. It's coming to empower cybersecurity professionals. Yeah. So it's always good, like as a cybersecurity practitioner, I learn more about AI each and every single day. Otherwise, it will reach a point when I'm outdated now. Yeah, because young people are now coming in as system security engineers, and they have this new knowledge of AI, they have this new knowledge of cloud computing, and I'm just there, I'm not learning. So AI is coming to empower us, not to take over our jobs.
Will it impact the aspects of now third-party system security vendors?
Yes, like for instance, in any organization, I know they tend to use ChatGPT. What happens when you're using ChatGPT? You are giving it prompts to give information. AI uses the pre-trained data models that keep on learning. There's an information that you can ask AI and it doesn't know. But there is that document that you'll upload with that has sensitive information about your company or organization. And AI will learn this sensitive information from the document you just uploaded. So a hacker somewhere, if this guy is gathering information about the target, there are steps in ethical hacking. One of them is gathering information. You can simply use AI to get some of this sensitive information. So again, yes, it's coming to empower us, but it's now bringing in some aspects of vulnerabilities that we really need to manage. That's why some of the organizations are now coming up with the policy to regulate the use of AI within the organization. Yeah.
The aspect of unpatched softwares, where are the vulnerabilities there?
Now, vulnerability is a weak point or weakness in any system. When you develop a system today, there is what we call the zero-day threats, where we have a new vulnerability that exists within that system, even the developer does not know. So to solve that problem, we need to patch our software or to update our software. So that's when the issue of a software patch is coming up. So it's always good again to update our softwares, because if we don't update, it means that we won't be able to fix new identified vulnerabilities within those softwares.
Has, from your perspective, has the Data Protection Act really enhanced how system security and data protection is handled in the country?
It does. It has and is still doing. Just navigate to the Office of Data Protection website. Then we have determination. Just see the number of cases that are there. Some of them are closed. Some of them are still ongoing. And one of the obligations of the Office of Data Protection is to ensure there is compliance. One of the requirements is if I'm collecting personal data, I must ensure that it is protected. I must come up with the technical measures and administrative measures to ensure that this data is really protected. So if they realize that if a customer complains against my company and they realize that I've not put in any security measures to protect that data, then you know what will happen. So because of that, most of organizations are now coming up with the security measures to ensure that this personal data is well protected. So it has enhanced.
Yes.
Yeah.
The aspect of data protection and system security, especially when it comes to poor handling of data in an organization, who should be held responsible? Is it the person or the entire organization?
It's not the person, it's the entire organization. This morning I'm telling you that it's a cyber security good practice to train your staff. But we ignore that because of budget constraints. So this guy will do and perform 1, 2, 3. What will happen? Maybe my data is exposed, then I sue you. What will happen? It's now that organization that will be held responsible. Maybe as an employee within that organization, I'll be given maybe they can terminate my contract, but on the long run, the effect is to who? So it's the owner of the company. It's actually the company itself, of which it now brings in the issue of directors and shareholders will be held responsible of that incident that will happen. Yeah.
So finally, how does data and business security, I mean business success, how does it affect business success?
Now, we need data. We collect data, we process data, we interpret data, then we make decisions based on the data that we have. If we get wrong data, if we misinterpret this data, we are going to make wrong business decisions that will affect our performance in the near future. Yeah. So we use data to make critical decisions about our business, where we're going to be. Data again helps us to come up with the new strategies on how to navigate around the market. So when the data is misinterpreted or we don't have data, then we cannot operate. Imagine this morning, Equity Bank, I want you to imagine that they realize that they don't have any data, they don't have any customer within their systems. How will they operate? They cannot operate. So whether you are a small startup company or a corporate giant, data is very paramount because it's going to shape your organization in the next few years. You need to make decisions on this. Daily operations are based on the data that we collect. So if we cannot have that data, and this data is not protected, we are going to make wrong decisions because of this.
Your final words.
Protect what it matters to you before it's too late.
Yes.
If you are a business owner, perform that audit. If you are coming in, bringing in the aspect of a new system, perform security audit. A young person outside there who wants to venture into cyber security, this is the time. Don't wait for next year. Don't wait for 2027, 2030. This is the perfect time for you to venture into cyber security. Yeah.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
That is Christopher Hayere, who is a certified cybersecurity professional and the coordinator of Kenya Cybersecurity Forensics Association, speaking to us about matters to do with data protection and system security. We hope that you have learned a thing or three from this